2 secrets. 1 engagement party. Total chaos. Secret number 1. The billionaire's son was in love with their black maid. Had been for 2 years. While his family planned his engagement to Korea's richest heiress, he was sneaking into her room every night, whispering promises in the dark. Secret number 2. She was pregnant. 8 weeks. And she had a plane ticket hidden in her room to disappear to Ghana the next morning without ever telling him. But when his fiancée humiliated her in front of 200 guests, poured wine on her, demanded she get on her knees like an animal, he made a choice that destroyed everything. And what he revealed shocked even her. Because she thought she was protecting him. She had no idea what he was about to sacrifice. This is a story about forbidden love, impossible choices, and the moment when staying silent becomes more dangerous than speaking your truth. Hey besties, before we dive into this beautiful story, tell me where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe and like so I can share more heart-stopping stories with you tomorrow. It is your beautiful way of supporting us. Thank you all. Love you guys. Now let's begin. The crystal chandelier above the Choi family's grand ballroom cast diamonds of light across 200 of Seoul's most powerful faces, but Lindsey couldn't appreciate the beauty. Her hands trembled as she balanced the silver tray of champagne flutes, weaving between guests in designer gowns and custom suits that cost more than she'd earn in 5 years. She kept her eyes down, her posture perfect, her Ghanaian accent carefully hidden behind practiced silence. Just get through tonight, she told herself. Tomorrow morning, she'd be on a plane to Accra with a secret barely 2 months old growing inside her, a secret that could destroy everything. More champagne here, a sharp voice cut through her thoughts. Yoon Hae-in stood near the engagement display, a vision in white Valentino, her smile as cold as the ice sculptures flanking the room. You the help. I said more champagne. Lindsey moved quickly, professionally, extending the tray toward the woman who would tomorrow become someone else's problem. But as she approached, Hae-in's eyes traveled over her with undisguised contempt, lingering on Lindsey's dark skin, her simple black uniform, the flat stomach that showed no sign yet of the 8-week pregnancy she'd discovered just 3 days ago. Actually, Hae-in said loudly, drawing nearby guests' attention, I've changed my mind. That tray looks heavy. Perhaps you should serve us properly on your knees, so we don't have to reach so far down. The conversations around them stuttered into silence. Lindsey felt every eye turn toward her, felt the weight of judgment and curiosity. From across the room, she caught Jigal's gaze, saw the muscle jump in his jaw, saw him start moving toward them. No, she thought desperately. Not yet. Not here. Just let me disappear. He didn't even know about the pregnancy yet. She'd planned to leave without ever telling him, to spare him this impossible choice. I don't think that's necessary, Lindsey said quietly, keeping her voice neutral. The tray isn't heavy at all. I wasn't asking your opinion, Hae-in's smile sharpened. I'm telling you how things work in proper Korean households. The help serves on their knees. Or did they not teach you that in whatever village you crawled out of in Africa? Lindsey's fingers tightened on the tray, but she forced herself to breathe, to stay calm, to remember the plane ticket hidden in her room upstairs, the small bag already packed under her bed, the pregnancy test she'd wrapped in tissue and buried at the bottom. 24 hours. Just 24 more hours and she'd be free. Jigal would never have to know. He'd marry Hae-in, fulfill his family obligations, and never discover that for 8 weeks, a part of him had been growing inside the maid he'd whispered love to in the darkness. Hae-in, Jigal's voice cut through the tension like a blade, smooth and controlled, but carrying an edge that made people step back. That's enough. Oh, darling, Hae-in turned to him with exaggerated sweetness, I'm just ensuring proper standards are maintained. Your mother would want the staff to understand their place, especially on such an important night. This is our engagement party, after all. Everything should be perfect. Jigal stopped beside Lindsey, so close she could feel the heat radiating from him, smell the familiar scent of his cologne that she'd memorized during stolen moments in the garden, in the library, in the darkness of his room when the rest of the house slept. Lindsey is doing her job perfectly. Leave her alone. Lindsey, Hae-in repeated, her eyes narrowing. How familiar. Do you make it a habit to memorize the help's names, Jigel? How democratic of you. I make it a habit to treat human beings with basic respect, Jigel said coldly. You should try it. Hayen's face flushed with anger, and something else flickered in her eyes, something that looked almost like pain. Everyone's watching, she said quietly, viciously. Everyone sees how you defend the help over your own fiancé. Do you have any idea how humiliating that is? Then perhaps you shouldn't create situations that require defending anyone, Jigel replied. Fine, Hayen's voice rose, her composure cracking. She snatched a glass of red wine from a passing server and, before anyone could react, poured it down the front of Lindsey's uniform. The burgundy liquid spread across the white apron on her black dress, staining, ruining, marking. Clean it up. On your knees. Now. Show everyone here what you really are. Just a maid. Just the help. Just someone who will never, ever be anything more in this world. The ballroom had gone completely silent. 200 pairs of eyes watched as Lindsey stood frozen, wine dripping from her clothes, humiliation burning through her veins like acid. She saw Jigel's mother, Choi Sun-hee, watching with barely concealed satisfaction. Saw his father, Choi Dae-young, frowning but not intervening. Saw the grandfather, ancient Park Myung-dae, sitting in his wheelchair near the windows, studying the scene with sharp, knowing eyes. This was why she had to leave. This was why she could never tell Jigel about the baby. Because even if he loved her, even if every whispered promise in the dark had been real, she would always be this to them. The help. The African maid. The woman who didn't belong. And now she carried his child, a secret that would either destroy his future or trap him in an impossible choice. Better to disappear. Better to raise this baby alone in Kumasi, where it would be loved and wanted and never called the help's bastard. Hayen, a new voice entered the fray, smooth and feminine and carrying authority. Jigel's younger sister, Choi Min-seo, appeared at Lindsey's side with a napkin. You're embarrassing yourself. And our family. I'm embarrassing? Hayen laughed, high and sharp. I'm not the one defending servants over my own social class. I'm not the one pretending that girl is anything other than what she is. And what is she? Jigel's voice had dropped to something dangerous, something Lindsey had never heard before. Tell me, Hayen. What exactly is Lindsey? She's nothing, Hayen spat. She's a maid who probably lied on her application, who probably isn't even here legally, who serves food and cleans toilets, and will spend her entire life being nothing to nobody. That's what she is. You're wrong, Jigel said quietly, and Lindsey felt her heart crack open because she heard the decision in his voice, heard the end of everything they'd tried to protect. You're wrong about everything. Jigel, Lindsey whispered, finding her voice finally. Don't. Please don't. He looked at her then, really looked at her, and she saw 2 years of stolen moments reflected in his eyes. The day she'd found him in the library, crying after a brutal meeting with his father, and instead of leaving him alone like a good employee, she'd sat down and asked if he was okay. The night 3 months later when he'd kissed her in the rain garden and told her she was the first real thing in his manufactured life. The morning just 3 days ago when she'd stared at 2 pink lines on a pregnancy test and realized she had to leave before he discovered the truth. I have to, he said, and turned back to face the crowd. Everyone here needs to understand something. This engagement, this party, this entire arrangement is a lie. Choi Sun-hee stood abruptly. Jigel, stop talking. Right now. No, mother. I'm done being silent. Jigel moved to stand in front of Lindsey, blocking her from Hayen's venomous gaze. I'm done pretending to be someone I'm not. I'm done letting people I care about be hurt for the sake of appearances. What are you doing? Choi Dae-jung's voice carried across the ballroom, heavy with warning. Think very carefully about your next words, son. I've thought about nothing else for months, Jigel said. I've thought about how to do this, when to do this, how to protect everyone I love while still being honest. But watching Hayen pour wine on Lindsey, watching all of you stand there and let it happen, I realize there's no perfect way. There's only the truth. The truth about what? Hayen's voice cracked slightly. What truth could possibly justify you humiliating me at our own engagement party? The truth that I don't love you, Jigel said, not unkindly. The truth that this arrangement between our families is a business transaction, not a marriage. The truth that I'm in love with someone else and have been for 2 years. The ballroom erupted into chaos. Gasps, shocked exclamations, the clatter of champagne glasses being set down too hard. Choi's son he actually swayed on her feet, gripping her husband's arm. The Yoon family, Haeun's parents and siblings, stood frozen in collective shock. Who? Haeun demanded, her face white. Who is she? Some socialite you met abroad? Some model? Some actress? Tell me who she is so I can destroy her like she's destroyed me. She hasn't destroyed anything, Ji-gal said. She tried to protect you, actually. Tried to protect everyone by planning to disappear. But I won't let her. He turned, extending his hand to Lindsey. It's Lindsey. I'm in love with Lindsey Mensa. If the ballroom had been chaotic before, now it transformed into absolute pandemonium. Shouts, accusations, the crash of something expensive hitting the floor. Lindsey could only stare at Ji-gal's outstretched hand, at the choice he was offering her. But he didn't know. He didn't know about the baby, about the impossible situation that was about to get so much worse. Ji-gal, she whispered urgently, there's something you don't know. Something I need to tell you before you do this. I don't care, he said firmly. Whatever it is, we'll handle it together. You don't understand. Tears burned her eyes. I'm pregnant. 8 weeks. I found out 3 days ago. That's why I was leaving tomorrow. I wasn't going to tell you because I knew this would happen. I knew you'd have to choose between your family and me, and I couldn't do that to you. Ji-gal's face went through a series of emotions so quickly Lindsey couldn't track them all. Shock, joy, fear, determination, and finally, fierce protectiveness. You're pregnant? With my child. Yes, she whispered. And I was going to raise the baby alone in Ghana so you'd never have to know, so you could live your life without this burden. Burden? His voice rose. You think our child is a burden? You think I'd want you to raise my baby alone on the other side of the world while I married someone else and pretended to be happy? He turned back to the crowd, and his voice carried absolute conviction. Lindsey is pregnant. She's carrying my child. And she was going to disappear tomorrow to protect me from having to make this choice. But I'm making it anyway. I choose her. I choose our baby. I choose a real life over this lie. The silence that followed was absolute and terrible. Then Choi's son he screamed shattered it. Pregnant? You got the maid pregnant? Oh God, the scandal. The absolute scandal. How could you do this to us? How dare you? Choi's son he's voice cut through the noise like a whip. How dare you embarrass this family, embarrass the Yoon family, embarrass yourself with such a disgusting announcement. A maid? You got a maid pregnant? Have you lost your mind? No, mother. I found it. Ji-gal's hand remained steady, still reaching for Lindsey. I found it the day Lindsey sat with me in the library and treated me like a human being instead of a chess piece. I found it every day since when she showed me what actual love looks like. Love. Choi Dae-young stepped forward. You think this is love? You think some affair with the help is love? That woman has trapped you, manipulated you. She probably got pregnant on purpose to secure a payday. I was leaving. Lindsey's voice emerged stronger than she felt. Tomorrow morning. I have a plane ticket to Ghana. I was never going to tell Ji-gal about the baby. I was going to raise our child alone because I knew this would happen. I knew you would all think exactly what you're thinking. That I trapped him. That I'm after money. That I'm not good enough for your precious son. Ghana. Haeun laughed bitterly. Of course. Running away because you know you don't belong here. You never did. You're right, Lindsey said, and saw surprise flicker across Haeun's face. I don't belong here. I don't belong in a world where people pour wine on other people for entertainment. Where human beings are valued based on their bank accounts and their skin color. Where love is treated like a business transaction. You're absolutely right. I don't belong in your world. Pause right here and comment for me. Tell me what you think Lindsey should do. Should she take Ji-gal's hand or walk away? And hit that like button because what happens next is going to absolutely shock you. The grandfather's reaction, Haeun's secret, everything is about to explode. Then leave, Choi's son, he said coldly. Take whatever money you've already stolen, take your lies and your pregnancy, and get out of our house. Out of our lives. We'll handle the scandal. We'll fix what you've broken. She's not going anywhere without me, Jigal said. And she hasn't stolen anything. If anyone's a thief here, it's all of you. You stole my childhood with your expectations. You stole my choices with your arrangements. You tried to steal my future by selling me to the Yoons-like property. Well, I'm done being stolen from. You ungrateful bastard. Choi Dae-jung's face turned purple with rage. Everything we've done has been for you. Every sacrifice, every decision, every alliance. We built this empire for you. No, you built it for yourselves, Jigal corrected. I was just supposed to maintain it. But I don't want your empire, father. I don't want your money if it comes with chains attached. I choose Lindsey. I choose our baby. I choose a life that's actually mine. Then you choose nothing. Choi Sun-hee's voice shook with fury and something that might have been pain. You're disinherited. Cut off completely. No trust fund, no company position, no family support. You'll be nobody. And when that African woman leaves you because you can't provide the life she was hoping to trap you into, you'll have nothing. I have a degree from Harvard Business School, Jigal said calmly. I have skills, intelligence, and work ethic. I'll be fine. And her? Haeun pointed at Lindsey with contempt. What does she have? A maid's resume and a baby to trap you with. I have a master's degree in international relations from the University of Ghana, Lindsey said quietly, exhaustion and anger finally breaking through her careful composure. I have professional experience in diplomatic services. And I have a family in Kumasi who loves me and wants me home. I don't need to trap anyone. I was literally leaving tomorrow to avoid this exact situation. The revelation sent another ripple through the crowd. A master's degree? Diplomatic experience? The maid they'd all dismissed so casually had credentials most of their children would envy. Then why were you working as a maid? Choi Dae-jung demanded suspiciously. Why hide here if you're so accomplished? Because I was running from an arranged marriage in Ghana, Lindsey said, the truth spilling out now that everything was already destroyed. Because my family wanted me to marry a man I didn't love, a man twice my age, and I refused. I came to Korea on a tourist visa that expired, took the first job I could find that provided housing and didn't ask too many questions, and tried to figure out my next move. I never planned to stay. I never planned to fall in love. And I certainly never planned to get pregnant. A likely story, Choi Sun-hee scoffed. Probably all lies to make yourself seem more acceptable. You're still just a maid who seduced my son and got pregnant to trap him. Actually, a new voice entered the conversation, crackling with age and authority. She's telling the truth. Every word of it. Every head turned toward the wheelchair near the windows. Park Myung-dae, the Choi family patriarch, Jigal's 94-year-old grandfather, and the founder of Choi Global Enterprises, wheeled himself forward with surprising vigor. His ancient eyes, still sharp as broken glass, swept over the assembled crowd. Grandfather. Jigal's voice carried surprise. You knew. I know everything that happens in my house, the old man said. Did you think I wouldn't notice my grandson sneaking around like a teenager? Did you think I wouldn't investigate the woman who made him smile for the first time in years? You investigated me? Lindsey felt violation mix with her shock. Of course I did. And what I found was fascinating. Park Myung-dae stopped his wheelchair in front of Lindsey, studying her with unnerving intensity. Lindsey Abina Mensah. Born in Kumasi, Ghana. Daughter of Nana Mensah, a respected Ashanti chief, and Abina Ose, a university professor. Graduated top of her class with a master's degree in international relations from the University of Ghana. Worked for Ghana's Ministry of Foreign Affairs for 2 years before fleeing an arranged marriage to a man twice her age. Tell me, child, did you think such an impressive background would remain hidden forever? Lindsey's mouth opened, but no sound emerged. Beside her, Jigal looked equally shocked. You're from Ashanti royalty? Jigal asked, turning to her with wonder and hurt. Why didn't you tell me? Because it didn't matter, Lindsey said. Minor royalty means nothing when you're scrubbing toilets in Seoul. My father being a chief doesn't change that your family sees me as beneath them. And honestly, I was trying to escape that life. I didn't want to be defined by my family status any more than you wanted to be defined by yours. It matters because it proves you didn't come from nothing, Park Myung-dae said. It proves you understand duty, family pressure, arranged marriages. You understand exactly what my grandson has been facing because you faced it yourself. And you were brave enough to run. Father, you can't be serious. Choi Sun-hee's voice rose. Royal or not, she's still African. She's still a maid. She's still pregnant with a bastard child who will never be accepted by our society. That child is my great-grandchild, Park Myung-dae's voice cracked like a whip. And I will not have you call any descendant of mine a bastard. If Ji-gal chooses to marry Lindsey, that child will be as legitimate as any other. You're actually supporting this madness? Choi Dae-jung asked, his voice strangled with disbelief. You're supporting your grandson throwing away his entire future for a woman he got pregnant? I'm supporting my grandson choosing love over convenience, the old man corrected. I'm supporting him having the courage I didn't have at his age. Do you know why I investigated Lindsey so thoroughly? Not to find reasons to reject her, but to see if she was worthy of him. And what I found was a woman with integrity, education, resilience, and the courage to walk away from everything she knew to avoid a loveless marriage. That's more than I can say for half the women in this room who married for money and status. This is unbelievable, Haein said, and her voice carried genuine shock. You're really going to let him throw everything away for her? What is he throwing away? Park Myung-dae asked. A loveless marriage? A business arrangement disguised as a relationship? The chance to be as miserable as his parents. How dare you, Choi Sun-hee gasped. I dare because I'm 94 years old and I don't have time for pretense anymore, the old man said flatly. You and Dae-jung have been miserable for 30 years. You married for family alliance and you've regretted it every day since. I watched you make my grandson's life a prison of expectations, and I said nothing because I thought it was necessary. I was wrong. The silence that followed was heavy with 30 years of unspoken truths. Choi Sun-hee's face had gone pale, Choi Dae-jung looked away, and the assembled guests shifted uncomfortably. When I discovered Ji-gal's relationship with Lindsey, Park Myung-dae continued, I decided to test him. To see if he had the strength to choose his own path. To see if he would let society and family pressure destroy his chance at happiness, or if he would fight. Tonight, watching him defend this woman in front of everyone who matters in Seoul, watching him choose her over his inheritance, over his reputation, over everything we raised him to value, I have my answer. He passed. You were testing me? Ji-gal's voice carried betrayal. All this time you knew, and you said nothing? Would you have wanted me to interfere? His grandfather asked. Would you have wanted me to give you permission or forbid you? Some choices, grandson, you have to make on your own. Some stands you have to take without knowing if anyone will support you. That's what makes them meaningful. What about the baby? Choi Dae-jung asked, his voice heavy. What about the fact that our grandson, our heir, has created a child with a woman who's not even Korean? What about our bloodline? Your bloodline is about to get more interesting, Park Myung-dae said dryly. That child will carry Korean and Ghanaian heritage, will speak multiple languages, will understand multiple cultures. In a global economy, that's an advantage, not a disadvantage. If you're too blind to see that, that's your problem. What about the engagement? Yoon Jae-sung, Haeun's father, finally spoke. He'd been silent through the chaos, watching with calculating eyes. The merger between our companies, the political alliances, the business arrangements. This engagement was supposed to secure all of that. Then secure it with a business contract instead of sacrificing your daughter's happiness, a quiet voice said, and everyone turned to stare at Haeun. She stood straighter now, her tears dried, something fierce and determined in her expression. I don't want this engagement either. I never did. Haeun, her mother gasped. What are you saying? I'm saying I don't love Ji-gal. I'm saying I was just as trapped as he was. I'm saying I'm in love with someone else, and I'm tired of pretending. Haeun's voice grew stronger. For 3 years, I've been secretly seeing someone. Kim Tae-won. Father's driver. And before you start screaming about inappropriate relationships and class differences, remember that you were all perfectly fine forcing me to marry a man I don't love for business reasons. At least I actually love Tae-won. The ballroom erupted again. The Yoon family looked collectively stricken. Haeun's mother actually swayed, reaching for her husband's arm. You've been seeing the driver? Yoon Jae-sung's voice was dangerously quiet. For 3 years. Yes, Haein lifted her chin defiantly. He's kind, intelligent, hardworking, and he loves me for who I am, not for my family's money or connections. And I was going to marry Ji-gal and spend the rest of my life miserable, watching him be miserable, because that's what our families expected. But watching him have the courage to choose his own path, I realized I could too. This is a disaster, Haein's mother said faintly. Both engagements destroyed in one night. The scandal. The gossip. Or, Park Myung-dae said thoughtfully, it's an opportunity. 2 young people brave enough to choose love over obligation. 2 families forced to examine whether business is worth destroying their children's happiness. 2 societies, Korean and Ghanaian, coming together through a child who will bridge both worlds. It could be beautiful if you let it. Beautiful. Choi's Sun-hee laughed harshly. My son will be ruined. No respectable family will associate with us. Our business partners will question our stability. Everything we've built could crumble. Then it wasn't built on a strong enough foundation, Ji-gal said, his voice steady. He still held his hand out to Lindsey, patient, waiting. If our reputation can only survive by sacrificing real people on the altar of appearances, then it deserves to fall. I'd rather build something real from nothing than maintain something hollow with everything. You say that now, Choi Dae-young said. Wait until the money runs out. Wait until you're struggling to support a wife and child on whatever salary you can earn without family connections. Wait until that woman looks at you and realizes you're not a billionaire's son anymore, just another man who can't provide the life she expected. I never expected any life from him, Lindsey said, finding her voice again. I expected nothing. That's why I was leaving. I would have raised this baby alone, working whatever jobs I could find in Ghana, living with my parents if necessary. I didn't need Ji-gal's money. I still don't. Then prove it, Choi Sun-hee said, her voice sharp with challenge. If you're not after money, sign a prenuptial agreement. Give up any claim to family assets. Raise that child knowing it will never inherit anything from us. Done, Lindsey said immediately. I'll sign whatever you want. I never wanted your money. I wanted your son. And now I'm leaving with or without him because I won't raise my child in a house full of people who see them as a mistake. Wait, Ji-gal caught her arm gently. You're not leaving without me. We're leaving together. He turned to his parents. I'll sign whatever prenup you want. I'll give up my inheritance, my trust fund, my position in the company. I don't need it. I have my education, my abilities, and most importantly, I have her. That's enough. You're both idiots, Park Myung-dae said, but his tone carried affection. Noble, brave idiots. Ji-gal, you're not giving up your inheritance. I'm changing my will. Everything I have, and I have quite a lot that's separate from your parents' control, goes to you and any children you have. Your parents can disinherit you from their portion if they're foolish enough, but mine is yours. Father, you can't, Choi Dae-young protested. I absolutely can. It's my money, earned before you were born, and I'll leave it to whoever I choose. And I choose my grandson who had the courage to love honestly over my son who built a fortune, but forgot how to be human. The old man wheeled closer to Lindsey. As for you, young lady, I don't want you signing any prenuptial agreements that favor my family. If you're going to marry Ji-gal, you do it as equals. Your child will be my great-grandchild, loved and provided for and protected. Is that understood? Tears streamed down Lindsey's face. Why? Why are you supporting us when everyone else thinks this is wrong? Because 70 years ago, I was in love with a woman my family didn't approve of. A poor girl from Busan with no family connections and no money. My father forbade the marriage, arranged a better match, and I was too weak to fight. I married for duty and spent 70 years wondering what my life could have been if I'd had courage. I won't watch my grandson make the same mistake. What happened to her? Lindsey asked softly. The woman you loved? She married someone else. Had a good life, from what I heard. And I had a good life too, in its way. But there was always a shadow over it, always a question of what if. I don't want that for Ji-gal. I don't want him looking at his children and wondering about the woman he loved and the child he abandoned for money and reputation. The ballroom had gone quiet again, everyone processing the old man's confession, the weight of his regret spanning 7 decades. I don't accept this, Choi-sun, he said, but her voice lacked its earlier conviction. I don't accept my son throwing away everything for a woman who will never be accepted by our society. Then you'll lose your son, Park Myung-dae said simply. Because he's leaving with or without your blessing. The question is whether you want to maintain some relationship with him and your future grandchild, or whether your pride is worth losing your family over. Ji-gal turned to Lindsey, ignoring everyone else. I know this isn't what you wanted. I know you plan to handle this alone. But I'm asking you to let me be part of this. Part of raising our child. Part of building a life together. Not because I'm rich, not because my grandfather is supporting us, but because I love you. Because you're the only person who's ever seen me as just Ji-gal, not as the Choi heir or the perfect son or the business asset. You saw me, and you loved me anyway. Let me do the same for you. I'm scared, Lindsey whispered. Scared of the judgment, the gossip, the racism our child will face. Scared that you'll resent me when reality sets in and you realize what you've given up. I'm scared too, Ji-gal admitted. Scared I won't be a good enough father. Scared I won't be able to protect you and our baby from the cruelty I know is coming. Scared I'll fail you. But I'm more scared of living without you. Of never knowing our child. Of spending my life wondering what could have been. So please, Lindsey, take my hand. Let's be scared together. She looked at his outstretched hand, at his face full of hope and fear and determination. Then she looked at Park Myung-dae, who nodded encouragingly. At Min Seo, who was crying openly and smiling. At Haein, who mouthed the word please with desperate sincerity. And she took his hand. The room erupted one final time, but the chaos felt different now. Less destructive, more transformative. Some guests left immediately, scandalized beyond recovery. Others stayed, curiosity overcoming judgment. The Yoon family gathered in a tight knot, arguing in fierce whispers about Haein's revelation. Choi Sun-hee sat down heavily, her face in her hands. Choi Dae-jung stood frozen, watching his son walk away from everything he'd built. We're leaving, Ji-gal said to his grandfather. Tonight. We're not staying in this house. I expected nothing less, the old man said. There's a key in my desk drawer. Top right. It's for the penthouse in Gangnam, the one I bought as an investment. It's empty, fully furnished, and as of right now, it's yours. Consider it an early wedding present. Grandfather, Ji-gal's voice broke slightly. Go, Park Myung-dae said. Get Lindsey out of that wine-stained uniform. Pack your things. Start your life. And Ji-gal, bring my great-grandchild to visit me. I don't have much time left, and I want to meet them before I go. I will. I promise. Ji-gal led Lindsey toward the door, and as they passed through the ballroom, past the shocked faces and whispered conversations, Min Seo ran up and hugged them both. I'm so proud of you, she whispered. Both of you. You're braver than anyone in this room. They made it to Lindsey's small room on the 3rd floor, the room she'd occupied for 2 years. It was tiny, sparse, with just a bed, a desk, and a small closet. The packed bag sat ready under the bed, the plane ticket to Accra hidden in a book on the desk. You really were going to leave, Ji-gal said, seeing the evidence. I thought it was the right thing, Lindsey said, pulling off her wine-stained vest. I thought I was protecting you. By raising my child alone on another continent? His voice held pain. By never telling me I was going to be a father? By not forcing you to choose between your family and me, she corrected. By not trapping you into a life you didn't want. Lindsey, he turned her to face him, his hands gentle on her shoulders. You are the life I want. You and this baby. Everything else is just noise. We don't even know if it will work, she said, voicing her deepest fear. Interracial relationships are hard enough. Add in the class difference, the family drama, the fact that we're having a baby after only 2 years together. The statistics aren't in our favor. Then we'll beat the statistics, he said simply. We'll work harder, love stronger, fight fiercer. We'll build something that doesn't exist in statistics because it's ours. And yes, it will be hard. Yes, there will be people who judge us, who say terrible things about our child. But Lindsey, I would rather face all of that with you than spend another day living the lie I was living. She kissed him then, tasting salt from her own tears, feeling his arms wrap around her like a promise. When they finally pulled apart, she smiled through her tears. "We're really doing this? Running away together like some dramatic movie?" "We're not running away," he corrected. "We're running toward a life that's ours. Toward a future we choose. Toward becoming the parents this baby deserves." They packed quickly, efficiently. Lindsey's few possessions fit into 2 bags. Jigal had more, but he left most of it behind, taking only what mattered. As they made their way down the stairs, they passed Hayan in the hallway. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for giving me the courage to tell the truth. For showing me that choosing love over duty is possible." "What will you do?" Lindsey asked. "Fight for Taewon the way Jigal fought for you," Hayan said with new determination. "And if my family can't accept him, then I'll build a life without them. You've shown me it's possible." They left the Choi estate at midnight, driving toward the Gangnam penthouse in Jigal's car. Behind them, the chaos continued. Ahead of them lay uncertainty, struggle, and challenges they couldn't predict. But they faced it together. 7 months later, Lindsey stood in the same penthouse, holding their newborn daughter, Abina Sunhee Choi. The name honored both her grandmother in Ghana and Jigal's mother, a bridge between 2 worlds. Park Myung-dae sat in his wheelchair nearby, holding the baby with practiced gentleness, his ancient eyes bright with tears. "She's perfect," he said. "Absolutely perfect." Choi Sun-hee stood awkwardly by the window, visiting for the first time since the engagement party disaster. She'd softened slowly over the months, particularly after Jigal had proven himself by landing an executive position at an international consulting firm through his own merit. The prenup she demanded had never been signed. Pride had bent, if not broken. "She has your eyes, Jigal," Sun-hee said quietly. "And Lindsey's beautiful skin." "She's ours," Jigal said, wrapping his arm around Lindsey. "The best of both of us." The Ghanaian relatives had arrived the week before, Lindsey's parents and siblings filling the penthouse with twee conversations and jollof rice and laughter. The cultural blend was chaotic, beautiful, and somehow worked. Hayan sent flowers, along with a card announcing her engagement to Taewon. Her family had fought, threatened, and finally capitulated when she'd proven as stubborn as Jigal. Sometimes courage was contagious. "I was wrong," Park Myung-dae said, his voice weakening with age, but still clear. "I thought love required sacrifice. That choosing the person you love meant giving up everything else. But looking at all of you, at this beautiful child, at the family you're building, I see that real love doesn't diminish you. It expands you. It makes room for more than you thought possible." "Thank you," Lindsey said, her voice thick with emotion. "For supporting us when no one else would. For seeing past what I looked like to who I actually am." "Thank you," the old man corrected, "for loving my grandson well. For giving him the courage to be himself. For giving me this before I die." He looked down at baby Abina, who gripped his finger with surprising strength. "This is my legacy now. Not money or companies or reputation. This child who will grow up knowing love matters more than status. That's worth more than any fortune I could have left." 8 weeks after that night when everything changed, Lindsey stood on the balcony watching Seoul's lights sparkle below. Jigal joined her, wrapping his arms around her from behind, his hands resting on her still flat stomach where their daughter grew. "Do you regret it?" he asked quietly. "Staying instead of leaving?" "Every day," she said, and felt him tense. "I regret that I almost left. That I almost robbed you of this. That I almost robbed myself of you. But staying? Fighting? Choosing us? That I'll never regret." She turned in his arms, looking up at his face. "We're going to be okay, aren't we? We're going to be more than okay," he promised. "We're going to be happy." And standing there in the Seoul night, a Ghanaian woman and a Korean man who'd chosen love over everything their families demanded, they believed it. Because sometimes the most revolutionary act is simply refusing to let others write your story. Sometimes courage looks like a maid taking a billionaire's hand in front of everyone who says she doesn't belong. Sometimes love is worth the scandal. And their daughter, already so loved, would grow up knowing that her parents had fought the world to choose each other. She would grow up understanding that love transcends borders, skin color, and bank accounts. She would grow up brave. That was the real ending. Not perfection, but possibility. Not happily ever after, but happy enough for now. And in a world that tried to tell them their love was impossible, happy enough for now is everything. If this story touched your heart, if it made you believe that love can overcome prejudice and courage can transform destinies, I need you to do something for me. Hit that subscribe. Share this story with someone who needs to hear that their love is valid, that their choices matter, that standing up for what's right is always worth it. Drop a comment telling me your favorite moment, the part that made you cry or cheer or rage. Your engagement means the world to me. Thank you for being here, for supporting these stories, for believing that love wins even when the odds are stacked against it. Until next time, remember you are not defined by what others expect from you. You are defined by the choices you make when it costs you everything. Stay strong, stay brave, and never let anyone pour wine on your dreams. Peace and love, beautiful people.